Good everyone. I hope you guys have an amazing day. So what I'm gonna do today? So I'll be doing three to four lectures on event-driven architecture using flows. Um, I always wanted to cover this topic, but for some reason I didn't have much time before. Now I recently finished Experience Cloud certification series, so I thought before I start the new one, I just wanted to cover some of the leftover stuff from the last year. So the event-driven architecture flow, right? So you might have heard about event-driven architecture. So let me give you a simple example. Um, so you have pen. I'll use this pen. Apologies for my yucky drawing, but I'll just put P. And as you can see, that my drawing is it's very bad. But all right, you know what? Screw that. I might as well use this thing here, right? And you can say publisher, and I'll just say subscriber, and I'll say subscriber. Yep. Okay. And so I'll add it, and what I'll do, I'll just add a line. Oh, come on. Yeah, for now, just okay. Yeah, that. Yeah, that. Yeah, that. All right. Okay, so you might have seen something like this before, right? What is a publisher and subscriber? So you must be wondering what the heck it is, right? So when we talk about event-driven architecture, right? You normally talk about publisher subscriber. Publisher is something which publish the stuff, and the subscriber is something which subscribe to it. So it's not like you might have heard about the old concept where a receiving system has to poll for an update, like keep on querying that whether there's an update to the database or the update to the channel. But that's not the case when it comes to this architecture. In this case, publish it, and subscriber, whatever subscriber it is, whichever client it is, could be a client written in C sharp or it could be a client written in Java. As long as they support the commit D, you can act as a subscriber, especially when we're talking about from a Salesforce perspective. If the Salesforce act as a publisher, so this is the event bus, which looks like a a tangled thread, but just assume that is an event bus, right? And so in Salesforce, we support you can publish it using platform events or change data capture. Okay, so change data capture is pretty simple, right? You do a change and it publish it, right? But if you want a custom payload, then platform event is the best way to go forward. So um, and now this is one of the architecture I implemented last year for one of the operations what we have to do. So what happens is that you get a result to, or how do I say, you get a data to Salesforce using a third-party system, and as soon as the data hit, that needs to be published out of the Salesforce as well as within the Salesforce. So to cater for that, and we need a custom payload at the same time. So I couldn't use the change data capture for that. So I've used platform event. So uh, when an external system or an integration from an external source inserts the data to Salesforce, it inserts the record, and then behind the scene, trigger or whatever, right? They activates the platform event, and once the platform event get published, an external system which is act as a subscriber gets the information, and as well as within the Salesforce, the flows can be used as a subscriber as well. So that's exactly what I'm going to talk about in this series, right? Uh, so I hope that's clear. It's pretty simple. So you're getting a data to Salesforce, and then you are going to publish it, and then subscriber will be a flow or external system going to receive the data. So this very simple scenario, kind of a silly scenario, what we're going to do. So whenever I receive, what I'll do is that the scenario is that I have an account, right? We have an account object. So whenever someone inserts or create a record in the account, say with the status called on hold, then it should create an entry into a log table to say this account's been created with an on hold status. Now, the reason why we want that is that, you know, just to have a placeholder in place uh, to keep track of the accounts which we're getting with an on hold status, right? Most of the times, when a third party inserts that account to Salesforce, it puts it as an active status, but we do get accounts which are in on hold status. And now on hold status information we needed to be captured inside our Salesforce. So we are going to do that to an to a logger object, which is called account log, which will actually create all the account information with the status on hold. But whereas anything to do with the active or inactive, you're not capturing in that table. At the same time, another system outside the Salesforce is interested to know the information for on hold, so that based on that on hold account, they have certain business process in place, so the third party system can process that information. So what that means is that if an account is on hold, um, so could be various reason. Could be the customer is not confirmed, and if the customer is not confirmed, the third party system will contact the customer to see is there something we can do about it, kind of stuff, right? And on the Salesforce side, we just only need to keep track of it just for the reporting purpose. So the best way you can do it, you can write a trigger, you know, on account object, which could be a flow trigger, right? Could be a flow, could be an apex, right? So, and then that trigger can propagate the information, and then the flow will receive that information and will create an account log object, entry to the log object. Now, you must be thinking, okay, so why can't we do a direct up there, right? Well, the reason why we are using the platform event approach in this case, like I said, an external system is interested in that data as well. So when an external system is interested in that same information, so we can use the platform event to solve this problem. Otherwise, what happens is I use the trigger to insert it, right? To insert the data into the Salesforce object, which is great. You can do that using simple flow, but how are you going to communicate that information to an external system, right? So you still need something in the trigger to propagate that information out using platform. So when you're already doing that, we can make use of the flows, which will receive the stuff and do the stuff, and the external system receive the stuff and do whatever they want. I think you must be thinking this guy make no sense, right? All right, I'll explain to you in a very simple way. Okay, so we have uh, this is your external system, right? And that external system inserts the data to your Salesforce, right? When that external system inserts the data to the Salesforce, in this case account, Salesforce only cares about um, active status accounts, right? But sometimes you do get an account with a status called on hold. Now, the on hold status is of interest to an external system, say external system called, uh, say, verification system, let's say, okay? And at the same time, the Salesforce business owners, right? They are interested to know why we get the number of accounts which is coming to Salesforce with on hold status. So basically, what we need that information for reporting purpose, right? The same account information for reporting purpose. Okay. Now we have a business architecture decision to be made here, right? You could do in a simple way. If you're not interested, if this system was not in picture, right, we could have straight away used the flow, and flow will insert the data to this logger object. Okay, Pretty simple, right? You could write a flow, and that flow will do directly insert the data, and we forget about it. Okay, and then you can pretty much report on this object. Pretty simple, right? No problem whatsoever. Now we have an external system in place. You might get a scenario where you might have multiple external system, and this external system support commit DE, right? We don't care what technology it's written as long it supports the commit DE. So this external system can act as a subscriber. So now we have a requirement where we need to populate this object as well as transfer the information to this external system. So the best way to do it, you can publish using using a bus, sorry, the platform event, which goes to the bus, and then you can subscribe. These two systems can subscribe to it. So that's all we're going to try to do. Okay. Now in Salesforce side, we're going to use the flows, and here they can use whatever they want, right? We're not interested because our job is to publish it. All right. Now let's look at the Salesforce flows. Okay, there are different kinds of flows, right? And the scalability is not a problem in terms of the platform event flows. So because I've tested it, we were getting around like 5 to 6,000 um, data in a day, and then we are propagating that, 5 to 6,000, and flows is taking care of it. So it's not a problem there. I mean, now you must be wondering what happened when you get a million, right? I haven't tested that, so I can't really answer that question. So when you do new flow, right? So it's gonna take some time, right? You got different kinds of flows now, right? You have screen flows. We're not interested in screen flows. Schedule trigger flows. You're not interested into that. Auto launch flows. I'm not really interested in that. Record trigger flow, not really. So we are after the platform event, right? So you got to subscribe to a platform event. So we need few things, right? Like the first thing, what we need to create a platform event. So let's do that today, okay? So you go here on the setup, right? And click find, just a platform. We're just doing some housekeeping stuff, right, today. Platform events, okay? And when we do platform event, let's create one, right? So you just do new, and we'll say account log, give a meaningful name. Account logs. This will create on hold account log entries. Okay, this will, publish. Okay, high volume, publish after commit. So would you like to publish after the account information get inserted, or you wanted to publish straight away, right? So I will do publish immediately, and I'll do save. Okay. All right. Now, what information do you need? Okay, just to keep it simple, just remember you should not be putting too many fields in platform, right? Only put the fields which are mandatory, which is really needed, right? Uh, so in this case, what we need text field. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna pass account ID. I'll just put I don't care for now. And required, yes, it's required. And what we do, we can also create status. Now you must be wondering, oh, why do we need a status, right? We can just propagate it. We can just hard code it like on hold, right? What if in tomorrow, right? You might need to cater for another requirement, like instead of on hold, you might do delayed or whatever status, right? So you always, whenever you're building a solution, right, just think for the future, right? Just don't build it for today. You might have to cater for what happens, the requirement changes in the future, right? It's a very bad practice to hard code, because if you hard code it, then you have to change the code in different places depending upon the way you implement it, right? So, yeah, remember that. Just use the text field, right? Now I'll do the status. Right, I'll just put 255. Okay, required, absolutely required. This one, and save. Okay, so we created 2 fields. That's what we are after at this stage, right? You might have, 10 fields, depending on your business requirement. So we create a platform event. Now what we have to do, we have to create a logger object. Okay, so I'll go to Object Manager here, and I'll just do create custom object. I mean, I know that this is a very silly requirement, but I can't really tell you the requirements what we had. Because like I said, I work for a company who do project for Ministry of Health, New Zealand Ministry of Health, and I cannot disclose any information, right? Because I've signed an NDA, so I cannot talk about it. Um, so, but I just wanted to tell you an architecture from an architecture point of view, why it's useful, and how you can leverage it. So that's all I'm trying to do. So just say account logger, right? So account logger, and I will do, yeah, allow report and kind of stuff, right? I honestly allow search, yeah, and yeah, all right, that's fine. I'm not really care. I don't care about the notes and attachment, but if you have a requirement in the future, just add it. Otherwise, you can ignore it. But for now, I just add it anyways. Yeah, so I often recommend people, right? Whenever you're giving a training to somebody, do not use your customer information, do not use your customer data, do not use your customer scenario, which is a very bad thing because you might have signed an NDA, and if you accidentally leak that information, it's a very bad thing. Then the customer will not trust you, right? That's one of the reasons why I do not like to share anything to do with the customer stuff, right? So yeah, you can talk about architecture decisions, which is fine because got nothing to do with the customer profile or data or anything to do with the thing which they wanted to implement, right? It's just a generic scenario which you can use for a certain use case. That's all I wanted to demonstrate. Okay, so okay, I'm not interested in anything else. Okay, yeah, I just do next, right? Okay, that's fine. Save. So okay, so I created a logger object. Now what I'll do, I'll add a few couple of fields. I just say new, and I will add. I just make a master detail relationship. Um, with an account. Okay, and just put it as account. Always good to put the description and help text. I often see people don't put description, which is not really great because you need to have an org which explains what you're trying to do, right? It's useful for someone else, right? Let's say you get hit by a bus and someone else have to take over your work while you're away. Then that person will get confused if you haven't recorded anything in the form of a description, right? So that's the reason why I often say don't do it. Don't do it in the sense don't be slack, right? This is something I say to my coworkers as well. Don't do it means just don't be a slacker, right? I mean, just try to do it in the right way. I mean, we share that in a funny way, right? People don't get offended because I know my coworkers quite well, so uh, whatever works for your team. Right? I'm not saying just you go and tell your coworker, hey, don't be slacker. Person might get offended, but when the place where I work, we just get along with each other, right? We just joke around, and yeah, it's a good working relationship. So you know, boys, just make fun of stuff sometimes. Um, Pick list. Right now I'm gonna do status. Okay, so I need a status field here. on hold. Yeah, active. Yeah, we can just. All right. For now, I'm interested. Okay, I just put it as valid, right? As if this is a feature requirement. Status. Okay, status. Required. Yes, we do need this field, and we do next. We do save. Okay, so this is great. Now I'm only interested in two field at this stage, so I'm not concerned anything else at this stage. Okay, so we've done. So we created two things, right? We've created a platform event, right? And then we have created this account logger object. All right, it's pretty simple. Now, what I'm going to do, I will create a flow, a dummy flow for now. Now, one thing I wanted to mention, right? Uh, when you create a flow, right? Now, you can approach it in a different ways, okay? The way I approach it, I'm going to tell you how I've done it and how I built it. So there is a concept in programming we use, separation of concern, or which is means you should separate your logic in separate classes or components, so that you should not mix and match your business logic. So if you have heard about the solid uh, principle, there is a principle called single responsibility principle, which means if you are talking from a programming perspective, means your class should do just one and only one job. For instance, if your class involves printing, it should only do printing, nothing else. It should not be doing anything to do with the file handling or sending out email to somebody else. No, absolutely not. The same goes with the flows. Okay, single responsibility principle is an important concept which will help you, build a separation of concern in the flow. So in this case, what we're gonna do, I could have two options. I could do this in two different ways. The first way, I'll show you. I'll create a new flow, right? And I'll do platform metric and flows. Okay. Now here the things get interesting. Now choose a platform event. You can't hook up your custom object here, right? You got to hook up your platform event. So what that means is that you're listening to that platform event, which acts as a publisher. Now this will act as a subscriber. So I'll do choose platform event, and I don't know what I named this, account logger, right? C underscore underscore E, and that's it. Now what I'll do, I will save, and I'll call it as a container, or I'll just call it as a subscriber, account logger subscriber, because this is a subscriber, right? Now you can build your flow, like I said, in two different ways. The first way, you can put your business logic here, which I've seen most people often do that, which is, in my personal opinion, it's a garbage way of doing it, because then you are populating your container flows with everything, right? There's no separation of concern here. Then everything like spaghetti mismatch of flow. Very, very bad practice. It's like, someone doing programming without having any understanding of programming. That's the way I look at it. The second way, separate your logic using subflows, right? Say, you might have a logic for on hold, right? Tomorrow you have a logic for valid, right? So you don't want it to mix and match together, right? Because on hold will have a different business process, valid will have a different business process, right? And um, you, in this case, we are actually going to insert the record, right, to this the custom, which is this one. Sorry, the account logger. So you could say that, okay, I can write a business logic here where I can drag and drop. What's this called? Select elements. Which one is that? Uh, where I can drag and drop. So where I can write a business logic here, new resource here, whatever you want it to do, and do whatever you want it to do. Okay, so uh, you can write some of the stuff here like validation kind of stuff, but not really great, right? And also you can see Not much options here. And came to toolbox. You see there's nothing you can see here. All you can do, you can create a new view resource, and that's it. So, like I said, this is a container class, okay? So now to pass the value, right, to this. Now, how do you implement that scenario? So it's very easy to implement a scenario like that. You just create a flow, a subflow, hook it up here, and that's pretty much it. It will do the job. Now, you must be wondering, okay, where is the option for creating a subflow here? I can't see it. That is an interesting scenario, okay? All right, let me go back. There's something funny I did. No, sorry. My bad. Should be. So I'll go here. It looks a bit weird in one way, right? So you go here, right? And um, you will think one thing, that where is my subflow option? So that's the second thing I wanted to talk about. You cannot link a subflow using a platform event. So how do you do that? You create an invocable and invoke your flows using um, invocable, which is something I'm going to do. So this is an interesting exercise, right? This often put off functional consultant who don't know how to write invocable Apex and think it's too complicated. But this architecture is very powerful, right? So the reason why, you might have thinking that, oh, this guy looked confused. I wanted to imitate that stage, right? If you as a functional consultant try to do that, you will exactly go through the scenario, because I've seen somebody at my work exactly going through the same scenario. Oh, why can't you find anything here? I didn't mean to disrespect anyone, but I just wanted to imitate the scenario. You will get experience. You will, because I remember someone said, "Oh, we can hook up the subflow through the platform event flow." You cannot. There is no option to hook up a subflow. The only way you can call another flow is using Invocable Apex, right? So, which I'll show you how I'm gonna do that. Okay. Or if you don't want to use a flow, right? For you can do something like create a record, but that is not a really great solution, right? Because you are actually adding a business logic to your container flows, which is not really great. Container flow is just a container or a subscriber container which receives the data um, when a platform when publish it. You shouldn't be writing your business logic here. If I see a flow with a lot of business logic inside a container flow, I straight away reject it. It will not pass the coding test. Absolutely not. Or the code review. Um, I mean, in interview too, right? If I interview someone, if someone suggests me this solution, hey, I can do the business logic inside the container flow. No, right? And that person tell me they have a lot of experience. There's no reason. There's no way that person gonna get hired. I'll just be very upfront. So yeah, so that's what I'm going to show you in the next episode: how to write an invocable Apex, and then how to write a trigger, and a little bit of code will be involved, but it will be exciting, right? So that's pretty much I wanted to talk about in today's episode. Okay, so if you're someone who never used programming before, I'll try to explain it in a very simple way. You don't have to get afraid of using the code. Um, just pay attention to it. It's pretty simple to do it. Okay? All right. So that's all I wanted to talk about in this episode. I hope you guys have an amazing Sunday. Adios.